So I've kind of started getting a little bit nostalgic, wanting to go back and look at the old Marvel movies. Not only the MCU movies, but also the old Spider-Man movies, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy or the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I want to go and look back at those movies because, honestly, I kind of miss them. It's been a while since I've seen all of the Marvel movies that I've seen, and I really enjoyed those movies as a kid, so I really want to rewatch them and see what they're like and see if they hold up at all. Which is why today we're going to be talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1. The first Spider-Man is a very interesting movie because now while it's a pretty good movie, it definitely isn't a great one like most people say it is. I think it's a really good movie. It's really well made. It's really well done. There's a reason why it's a big box office phenomenon that it is. The first Spider-Man movie had a budget of $139 million, and it made altogether worldwide $825 million. That's huge. That movie made bank for Marvel. And it doesn't help that this movie is just a big pop culture phenomenon entirely. It's meme to death nowadays, and there's still references of these movies today. People love these movies, myself included. And I want to look back and look at this movie and see how good it is now. So first, we're going to talk about also, just as a reminder, please like and subscribe. That would really help me out. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. This movie is just really funny. I really don't know what else to say. Not only is it just funny intentionally, it's funny unintentionally. And it feels like that's on purpose. There's a lot of really goofy shit about this movie, and it just kind of just makes me laugh a lot. Like that dumbass fucking grin that Tobey Maguire does. Like, it looks so fucking dorky, you just can't help but laugh at it. The magnum opus of humor is during the fucking cage fight scene. That shit is fucking downright hilarious. Not only intentionally, but unintentionally too. That shit is great, bro. Dude, I was laughing so hard at a lot of moments within this.
Back to formula.
Why did he do that? Why did he growl? He's like, why did he growl? Blue eyes, didn't notice without your glasses. Quit it with that fucking dorky ass smile. Another thing I thought was really well done was the theme of responsibility, which, yeah, really great here. This story really does teach Peter the theme of responsibility really well, especially throughout the course of the movie. Like, after losing Uncle Ben, Peter starts to take responsibility over his powers and, becomes Spider-Man. Then as the movie goes on and as he starts to fall in love with Mary Jane and realizes that he can't be with her to protect her, in the end, he chooses not to get with her just to protect her and make sure she's safe because he knows his line of work as Spider-Man is going to put her in danger. That shows responsibility of what he's doing. He's taking the responsibility of not being with her for her own safety. That's really well done, especially during the end of the movie. That ending scene really does feel really impactful and inspiring because, like, Peter's taking that responsibility on his own, and it feels really triumphant for him, even if it's really sad that he can't get the girl of his dreams. The theme of responsibility is just done really well here, and I'm really glad the movie has a good theme to it. Another great thing about this movie, fucking Green Goblin. I love Willem Dafoe. He's basically my favorite actor. I think he's an amazing one and just does great things in all of his roles. And the Green Goblin is no exception. God, the voice that he does for his Green Goblin is just amazing because it's such a contrast to just regular Norman, and then you just switch to the Green Goblin and then that's him. And Willem Dafoe's acting for both the characters are just so distinct. Like how you can tell when the Goblin's out And when Norman's out, like during the ending fight scene, you could tell that Norman comes out for a little bit, and then guess what? Goblin comes out during the end of there because his voice changes a little bit. I thought that was a really well written scene because if you pay attention, you can hear the Goblin voice in some way, shape, or form. The Goblin trying to impersonate Norman in a little bit of a way, just so he can manipulate Peter. It doesn't help that he's just hilarious too. This guy's also a fucking line machine. Like that ending line during the final battle, god, it's one of the best monologues you could ever hear from a supervillain ever. God, if you've watched this movie and can't repeat this monologue, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Spider-Man! This is why only fools are heroes. Because you never know when some lunatic will come along with a sadistic choice. Let die the woman you love, or suffer the little children.
The Green Goblin is just really great. And it's having the first movie have the Green Goblin is just also great. So kudos to Sam Raimi. I know this is low-hanging fruit, but it's like the CGI is really bad. There's a lot to say about the CGI. I know it's like made in 2002, but even like a reviewer from 2002 thought the CGI looked terrible.
You know, my thumb is down on this movie, but it's sort of a split decision. When you see Spider-Man flying through the skies and leaping between buildings, he looks like an artificial cartoon character. He moves too fast, without the weight and presence of flesh and blood.
So I feel like I'm allowed to talk about the CGI. It's dog shit. It's trash. There's one whole scene from that movie where in the beginning you see Peter like swinging like for the first time, or at least trying to swing on buildings, and he like swoops down, and then you also see him like going at an angle and then seeing his stomach as he's swinging. Then later on in the movie you see the same scene, but it's brighter and Spider-Man's in full costume, and it's the exact same scene. Like, I'm not lying to you. Here's what it looks like side by side. It's the exact same thing. Wow, that's some CGI right there. That's some CGI right there. That's some CGI right there. You're lucky it's dark, so it's not as noticeable. Yeah, the CGI definitely doesn't stand the test of time nowadays. I know it was made in 2002, but it does not look all that great. Also, the acting can be a little flat. Like, I don't know why Tobey's acting is so flat. It feels like he's just a person that just saw a role for a theater role and then just took it. I don't know how much money he got paid for this movie, but yeah, he definitely got paid. I'm not saying he wasn't trying, but it's definitely very flat. Even Kirsten Dunst's acting is kind of flat. It's very weird to describe. Like, the main three characters, fucking Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and Harry Osborn, all three of their actors are just flat in terms of their acting. I don't know why James Franco talks in this weird whisper. It's so odd. I know it's probably early in their careers, but it's like still, it's just so, all three of them are just really flat in terms of their acting. Everyone else does a really good job. It's just those three are just kind of weird about it. Also, I'm kind of mixed on the costume design. Mostly with Spider-Man's costume and Green Goblin's costume. Don't get me wrong, they look really good, really well designed. But it doesn't really allow the actors to, emote in terms of facial expression. Don't get me wrong, it's a fucking Spider-Man costume, so they're gonna be wearing the mask and all that stuff. But it's like, Tobey doesn't necessarily do anything to make sure that he's expressing like how he's feeling in that one moment while in the costume. He's just kind of like, it's just kind of like there. Like, there'll be some scenes where it'll just be on his face and he'll just like be there and just say a line that's so flat that you don't even understand how he's supposed to be feeling in that one moment. Like this scene in the fire.
It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind.
Like, why is it like that? It's just so flat. There's also the Green Goblin's costume. Again, looks really good. Very good, in fact. But it definitely doesn't allow Willem Dafoe to necessarily act all that well. There's this one moment where they're on the rooftop, great scene by the way, but for some reason the eye spots on his mask decide to open up. So we can see his eyes, but why can't we see his mouth like move? It would add so much more to the scene because we get to see more of how he's feeling aside from just his eyes. And don't get me wrong, Willem Dafoe does a really great job with his mannerisms and, you know, showing how he's feeling in that one moment because it shows how cocky he is in that one moment because he knows he's, you know, one up on Spider-Man. But it still doesn't help with the mask because, like, you know, we can't really see in his face about how he's feeling in that one moment, and it doesn't allow Willem Dafoe to, like, you know, act in terms of facial expression. I know this is like a very specific thing, but it's just like there's a reason why they destroyed that mask in the fucking beginning of Spider-Man No Way Home, because it would allow Willem Dafoe to act as the character. And you want to hear something funny? Willem Dafoe's acting in that movie is great, especially since we get to see the contrast between Norman, and then once the Goblin takes over, we get to see different facial expressions from the Goblin. Hell, even in the mirror scene, like, we get to see the difference between Norman and the Goblin. Not only just between the voices of each other, we also get to see it between how they express and how they emote with each other. So why come for the costume design you didn't let that happen more? Because the only thing we get is just the eyes, but that's not enough. But the costumes do look good, it's just it doesn't necessarily let the actors, you know, act. And Toby definitely doesn't help, especially with how flat his acting can be, because he doesn't add like any pizzazz to like the way he moves in those scenes. And luckily Willem Dafoe was a good enough actor to, like, you know, show how the Goblin is feeling in those scenes, but it still doesn't help with the mask like covering up what could be an even better scene if we got to see him emote a little bit. Overall, I give this movie like a 7 out of 10. Like, most reason why it's not like an 8 or a 9 is because of just little things. Like the stuff I talked about in the bad stuff, it's just the little things that kind of hold this movie back. Like the flat acting. If the movie had better, not necessarily better cast actors, but if some of the actors did a little bit better, the movie would be that much better. Hell, if the main two characters, Spider-Man and the Grey Goblin's costumes, just got the smallest bit more of a change, that would make it that much better, because then we get to see them act a little more. Spider-Man's is a little weird in terms of that, because that's definitely reliant on how the actor would act compared to the Green Goblin, which allows him to like open up the eye holes, and he could have opened up the fucking mask, the fucking face mask thing, but I don't know why he didn't do that, or why they didn't want that to happen, or like the CGI, but that's just a thing of its time. It's just the little things, but overall this movie is very entertaining and really well written for the most part. There's a reason why this movie is considered a cult classic, because it's just basically the first ever Marvel movie to release. It's really well done for a Marvel movie, and especially for the first Spider-Man movie ever released. And Sam Raimi did a really great job by trying to grab what happened in the original Stan Lee and Ditko comics and tried putting it on the big screen. Did a really great job at adapting those. But yeah, I give this movie about a 7 out of 10. But I'm gonna do something for this. See, I want to make this into a series of just reviewing superhero movies, you know? Not just only Marvel movies. So what I'm gonna do for my first outing of the superhero movies that I'm reviewing, I'm gonna put them all on a tier list. So this movie is going in B tier. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. That would really help me out. And I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.